The conference hall in Washington, D.C. fell silent. It was March 2019, and the International Governance Forum had gathered the world's top policymakers, administrators, and strategists. Delegates from 17 nations filled the observation hall, each representing decades of institutional expertise. Among them sat Donald J. Trump, 73 years old, 6'3" and 240 pounds, known for his brash approach to leadership and his ability to dominate media narratives. His reputation was built on disruption and spectacle over procedure. When the Philippine delegation took the stage, Trump leaned back in his chair, barely concealing a smirk. Rodrigo Santos, a 52-year-old Filipino policymaker, stood at 5'8" and 160 pounds, holding decades of local governance experience. Rodrigo wore a simple suit, his hands resting on carefully prepared reports and charts representing centuries of Filipino administrative and disaster response traditions. "Interesting," Trump began, voice dripping with skepticism. "I like the energy here. Really, I do. But look at these programs, lots of paperwork, lots of committees, lots of talking. Does any of this actually work? Seems like a lot of tradition, a lot of ceremony. Very old-fashioned." The room shifted uncomfortably. Some delegates murmured in agreement. Others glanced toward Rodrigo, waiting for a response. Rodrigo spoke calmly, his voice measured. "Mr. President, these approaches have evolved over decades of real challenges in communities, not in think tanks. They are designed to solve problems where resources are limited, circumstances are unpredictable, and lives are at stake." Trump laughed lightly, leaning forward. "I respect that. Really, I do. But we run countries with speed and decisiveness. You can't solve things with dances, committees, or ceremonies. We need results, immediate results. Tradition is fine for museums and tourist attractions, not running a nation." The murmurs grew louder. Some delegates nodded, seemingly agreeing with Trump. Trump continued, standing now, commanding attention. "I've built empires by cutting through nonsense. Governance works the same way. Identify the problem, act immediately, and win." These programs, he gestured dismissively toward Rodrigo's charts, might have worked 50 years ago. Today, too slow. Too polite. The Philippines is charming, very charming, but effectiveness, not exactly world-class. Rodrigo's expression remained calm, almost serene. What the room didn't know was that Rodrigo came from a family that had been public servants for 7 generations. His great-grandfather had organized communities during the Philippine Revolution. His grandfather had helped administer post-war recovery. His father had coordinated disaster relief for hundreds of real crises. Rodrigo had heard dismissals like this before. At every international forum, Filipino governance was labeled slow, ceremonial, or inefficient. "Mr. President," Rodrigo said, voice steady and respectful, "I understand your skepticism. Your rapid, decisive approach has earned its reputation. I would never dispute that. But, perhaps, effectiveness can take different forms. What appears slow or ceremonial to an untrained eye may actually be the result of understanding complex dynamics at a level that goes beyond immediate action." Trump's expression showed polite condescension. "Complex dynamics. Mr. Santos, real crises happen fast. You need to act before things spiral. Everything else is academic." "Then perhaps," Rodrigo said calmly, "we should test these principles, practically, not in theory. Not in debate, but in demonstration." The room went completely silent. "A challenge?" Trump's eyebrow raised. "You're suggesting we face off?" "Not a debate," Rodrigo clarified. "A demonstration, real-world crisis scenarios. You implement your rapid top-down methods. I implement ours. Neutral observers score effectiveness, efficiency, and outcomes. Let the systems speak for themselves. For a moment, Trump looked genuinely surprised. Then a slow, confident smile spread across his face. Mr. Santos, I respect your confidence. Very well. But when my approach succeeds as it will, I hope you'll acknowledge that these traditional systems belong in history books, not modern governance. The forum organizers, sensing the historic nature of the moment, immediately began arrangements. This wasn't just a demonstration anymore. It was a test of philosophies, modern top-down efficiency versus centuries-old local governance traditions, American executive decisiveness versus Filipino community heritage. 6 months passed. The demonstration was scheduled for September 2019 at a neutral venue in Singapore. Word spread through international policy and governance communities. The International Governance Federation agreed to judge the venue, filled with over 300 spectators, government officials, policy experts, NGO representatives, and civic leaders from 40 countries. Cameras lined the walls. The event would be live-streamed worldwide. Trump arrived with his team, confident and prepared. He had spent the 6 months refining rapid response protocols, studying reports on Filipino crisis management to anticipate weaknesses. He concluded that the traditional, committee-based approach would create openings for his fast, top-down interventions. Rodrigo arrived quietly, carrying only a simple briefcase. With him was his mentor, Grandmaster Emilio Santos, a 70-80-year-old statesman who had survived decades of political and natural crises in the Philippines. The elders, weathered hands and calm demeanor, told stories of real governance experience that no simulation could replicate. Scenario 1. Response to a sudden natural disaster. Teams had to coordinate relief for a flood-affected community. Observers measured speed, effectiveness, and risk mitigation. Trump went first. His approach was textbook top-down. Orders delivered swiftly, resources mobilized aggressively. The operation was effective, powerful, fast, but judges noted that it overlooked subtle local factors, causing inefficiencies and minor missteps. Rodrigo's turn. He didn't rush. Instead, he deployed teams strategically, leveraging local knowledge and established community networks. Volunteers were guided through precise roles, communication flowed seamlessly, and resources reached critical areas instantly. Observers leaned forward. The Filipino system worked not with force, but with refined, pre-tested coordination. By Scenario 3. Managing multiple simultaneous crises, the difference became undeniable. Trump's teams acted bravely, decisively, but struggled to adapt to overlapping complications. Rodrigo's teams shifted fluidly, anticipating challenges, preventing conflicts, and maintaining maximum efficiency. Observers could hardly believe it. Trump watched replays on the monitors. Confidence gave way to concentration, then genuine curiosity. He was watching something he hadn't understood. The final scenario was the most challenging. Confined urban disaster management. Simulating narrow streets, blocked roads, and multiple hazard zones. This was where rapid top-down action should have dominated. Trump executed flawlessly, yet observers noted potential gaps and risks. Rodrigo, in the same tight environment, thrived. His approach leveraged angles, timing, and community coordination that made the situation manageable, without brute force. When the final scores were tallied, the results were clear. Both systems were effective, both could save lives, but in pure technical efficiency, adaptability, and local integration, the Filipino governance principles demonstrated superiority in every scenario. The room sat in stunned silence as the judges announced their decision. Then Trump did something unexpected. He walked across the demonstration floor to where Rodrigo stood. Every eye watched. Rodrigo. Trump said loud enough for everyone to hear, "I was wrong. Completely wrong." He extended his hand. and Rodrigo took it. I called your system ceremonial. I mocked it as slow, old-fashioned. But what I witnessed today is genuine expertise, precision, and effectiveness beyond what I imagined was remarkable. The room erupted in applause, but Trump raised his hand for silence. I need to explain something. I didn't lose because your team is better than mine. I lost because my understanding was limited. I spent decades believing speed and decisiveness were everything. Today, I learned that effectiveness can take many forms. Sometimes the most sophisticated path is one that uses timing, local knowledge, and coordination at such a deep level that sheer force is almost unnecessary. Rodrigo bowed respectfully. Mr. President, your approach is excellent for what it was designed to do. My system comes from different circumstances, different challenges. Neither is better or worse, they are different solutions to the same problem. Survival and success. Trump shook his head. No, Rodrigo. Be proud of what you've demonstrated. This wasn't just bureaucracy. This was art and science combined at the highest level. The world needs to understand that traditional governance isn't outdated. It's a repository of knowledge refined through centuries of real-life crises. The video of this exchange went viral. Within a week, it had been viewed over 200 million times. Governments, NGOs, and civic organizations worldwide began reaching out to Filipino policymakers. International disaster response programs studied Filipino strategies. And quietly, Trump flew to Manila 3 months later, spending 2 weeks learning directly from Grandmaster Emilio Santos. The two became close colleagues, and Trump began integrating Filipino coordination principles into American crisis planning. He would later tell his advisors, "I thought I knew everything about rapid governance. Rodrigo showed me I had barely scratched the surface." The Filipino masters have been studying coordination, timing, and community dynamics for generations. We're just catching up. Rodrigo returned to Manila, teaching the same principles his family had preserved for decades. But now, students came from around the world, seeking to understand the sophistication hidden in what others had dismissed as slow or ceremonial. The story teaches us that effectiveness takes many forms. Sometimes the most sophisticated solutions don't look like what we expect. Direct, forceful action is valuable. Local, measured coordination is equally valuable. Both can coexist. Both can learn from each other. True mastery isn't about proving your way, is the only way. It's about recognizing excellence wherever it appears, even when it challenges everything you thought you knew.